Hi friends! So the RTA season is over. Season 0 is officially over now, as we can see here. Okay, we are now in the off season, right? With 2 days, you can see that I've hit Mythic. I've stayed 3100, and the only reason I actually hit Mythic was for... that's the wrong one. It's actually just for the rank up rewards. I just wanted the tofu here. Okay, and why didn't I push more? It's because this frame is only 60 days, right? And so if I'm always going to be ending Mythic, I'm not going to have any season specific frames. I can just end Mythic and just have this frame, which I'm never ever going to be using. So there's no reason for me to frame chase because I'll always be getting the EWS one, right? Which is a permanent frame. So that's what I will be chasing. Does that mean that I can't climb RTA? No, I definitely can. But that's not my priority. I have other things that I want to do. Okay? But without further ado, what I want to do today is I just wanted to show you the units that I used for Season 0 and how I got Mythic and what units I used, my thought process behind building them, and stuff like that. Okay? So let's jump into what I use. I only have 17 units that I use, and so here they are. The first one that I use here is Dokyoki. Okay? You can see that I have her S1 maxed, and that's because it gives you, it purifies 2 debuffs. I think there's a bug here. It says 3, but it's only 2. And this is actually super important, especially when you're playing against, CC. And CC is actually a very, very strong archetype in this game. And without Dokyoki, it's quite rough. It's quite rough, okay? This backup is so important, all right? Because it purifies 2 debuffs. That means if you fight a CC unit, and they see Dokyoki, chances are they are forced to ban Dokyoki if they are going to go down the CC route, right? And so I used her with relatively a decent speed on Bulwark, Swift, and Swift Smite. And you can see that I gave her a good amount of effect resistance. Is this consistent? Not really, but all you really need is, to just be lucky, make them miss, and then she goes, okay? And that is the entire idea behind it. Why don't I run Bulwark, you're going to ask? Well, that's because I'm going to sacrifice a bit too much speed on her. And I'm using her in 2 ways. One is to, strafe away the CC. And the second one is to punish people who are going to, play units on Rev that are going to interact with me, okay? And so the reason why I run her at about 287 speed is because I'm running her on Lighthouse, as you can see here. This is not perfect. I really only cared about the speed dash here. Okay, this has to be changed, but we all know that, training data and the config chips are, very scarce. So I'd rather have a bit more volume than to have very niche down shells, okay? And the reason why I'm using her on Lighthouse is because I want to be able to punish Rev users as well. Because if she cuts, right, her S3 is going to push my entire team. Okay? And if she pushes my entire team takes a turn, I can just, counter cleave them that way. Alright? And that's how I'm using Dokyoki. The next one that I use here is Messiah. And now Messiah, I am running him on Bulwark, Fury Edge. Okay? This is still not 100%. It still gives me PTSD, but I can't find any more crit rate anywhere. And the only way I can find it is by, sacrificing this Shadow Dash here and changing it into, crit rate, right? Which, the more I think about it, the more I can't let go of this, because this speed is actually quite important on him. As you can see, he's only 214 speed. And if I take away that 16 speed here, he's going to be about 198, which is not fast enough in my opinion. That means I have to find more better gear to up his speed so that I can, get his crit rate from there. Okay? You can see he's also not on perfect passive effects. This was a lucky roll, right? When I wrote the count, this came out. I was like, okay, I'll take it. All right? But this is what I'm running on him. I run Bulwark on him because if I'm drafting a Messiah, chances are, I'm playing against tank to begin with, right? And I need to be able to smack them with the S3. Because if he can't use his S3, this unit is technically hot garbage, right? Any DPS is hot garbage. And when you're fighting against tank, you have to think about the fact that you're about to be fighting a Holden. Very likely. And if Holden is faster than, what I have here on him, which is 214 speed, a lot of people play, Holden's a little faster than this, he's going to just get S2'd and then he's not going to take a turn. Right? And so this is why I run him on Bulwark, because if I put him on Bulwark, that means they have to play a bit differently. That means they have to hit at the S3, get rid of the immunity, put attack down on him instead. But that means I still get to S3. And because I'll be playing him with, Purifiers, and he is the last one to move usually on my team, that's going to get cleansed. Okay? Count also very good, because if they don't kill him, I'm going to get Life Leech, right? Which is basically lifesteal. And lifestealing for him is not bad, because he is going to, have this for 2 turns, and he's going to S3, S2, he's going to get back his good amount of HP. And the first instance of him life leeching, he's going to hold on to that because of his invincibility, right? And so that is why I run him on Bulwark. This has been a lifesaver for me, and I highly recommend it. Even when you're going up against, CC, if you ban away their stripper, he's always going to move because they don't have enough damage to kill him. Okay? Next one. Tiamat is my next unit that I play. You have to have a Tiamat in your back pocket at all times, because you don't know when you're going to be playing against Cleave, and when you're playing against Bruiser, you want to always have the option to take Tiamat away from them. Okay? So this is how I have her built on Bloodbath, what is this called? Bramble, with Swift Smite. And why Swift Smite is because that effect accuracy is actually quite important on her. Because if you hit the S3 and you manage to taunt, right? And you manage to taunt, a lot of the times that could actually save you the match. And so I think that this S3, this effect accuracy, having some of it is not a bad idea at all. Okay? With the shell, we still run Amber on her because Amber is broken on her. It's actually quite literally broken. Sometimes, she's gonna get this weird buggy thing where, you can't use her skills. That still needs to be fixed. But Amber is really good against anti-CC because if she already has blood stacks on her, a good amount of it, and there's no heal block or wound on her, what happens is she is going to turn into a dragon form. Immediately after dying, she's going to immediately get the turn, and she's immediately going to S1, and then revert back, and then now you have to deal with her all over again. And trying to kill her while on Bramble means you are, proccing a 25% chance of her counter-attacking you and probably ruining your day. And so that's how I played my Tiamat, right? You can see I only just recently put this in her, just recently, and I got this extra 1000 HP, but she's very usable without any skill ups, okay? Next one is Raoul. Now, Raoul is a very interesting one because I don't draft him a lot, but when I do, he outperforms insanely. And why is that? It's because he does so much damage, and because my S1 is almost maxed, right? The only one that I don't have is, inflicting more defense down on you. But I got all of his damage boosts, right? So his S1, when he assists attacks, he hits like a damn truck. Now, mine doesn't really hit that hard, but it's still hard enough to actually, hit people pretty damn good. And you can see that I'm running him, it's not super fast, but when you're playing a Bruiser draft, you're not playing him awfully fast anyway. And you're going to he's always going to be topped up. So if your Bruisers or your supporters are attacking, there is a chance he's assisting, right? So I gave him a little bit more HP so that he can, tank the damage. Because if he doesn't have HP and just all defense, he's still going to die, right? So having that balance between HP and defense is quite important on him. For the shell, I'm using Lighthouse as well because this is also something that, I use against anti-cleave if I don't have the option to pick Tiamat, and a lot of the times Tiamats are going to be banned. Or, I can't pick Holden because, my opponent somehow has, sniped it off me. I still have Raoul, okay? And his S3 hits damn hard against DPS because don't forget that his skills, right, is all about the difference between the defense of Raoul and your opponent. And he gives himself defense buffers. And so that S3 hits pretty damn hard. They don't really have a healer, and then you can just use your, supporters to just slowly snipe off the units one by one. Okay? Next one is Lily. Now you can see that I am not fast at all. This is the fastest I have right now. Okay, is this the fastest I can go? No. I can probably get her to 337, but that's still not fast either. And you can see I don't really have speed, but I have her in the back pocket just in case I need to use her. I don't often first pick Lily anymore. And because I don't have the speed, I usually try to play the slower route. I go standard. And then if I get the chance to pivot aggro, that's when I go aggro. If not, I'm going to go down the tank route. Okay, depending on how you play. For the shell, I'm just using White Fang because this is my fastest White Fang. Alright, no big deal, double speed. Nothing much to talk about here. You can see that my S2 is not maxed as well, but the S1 must be maxed because the assist attack has to be 100% proc chance. You don't want to leave it up to 75%. Okay, Holden. Holden is also on Blood buff. I put him on Strive with Swift Smite. And why Swift Smite? Is because this effect accuracy is quite important on him. It's actually really good that if you S2 when you open your sequence with Holden and you go S2 and completely kill off a unit or kill off a unit, right? Because fully resetting a unit and their turn meter and their skills is basically a dead unit at that point. And so this is why I run him like this. Now I run him 232 speed, as you can see, like I said earlier with Messiah. People usually run him a little bit faster, 232, 250 speed. That's, give or take. Some demons out there will play, 280, 290 speed. Holden's just to, use him as a stripper, or the option to completely reset a unit that is not on immunity. Strive is just there so that, every time he gets hit, he gets pushed, right? And every time he gets pushed, he gets one step closer to ruining your opponent's strategy, basically. And when you couple that with Lighthouse, as you can see that I have here over here, he's gonna, be a massive threat. People will try to gun him down as soon as possible or completely ignore him so that he doesn't get the Lighthouse effect plus the Strive effect. Okay? But having that option on him is not bad. Again, getting 3500 defense is quite necessary on Holden because you need him to have 70% proc chance. And if he doesn't have that, it's very, very, how do I put this? Up the chance. I think 70% has been pretty consistent for me. Every time someone hits him, they're very high likelihood he's counter-attacking. But when I run him, like let's say on a 3490 something, the chances of him, counter-attacking just drop significantly. I don't know how the math works there, but this is all through experience and practice, right? For my prowesses, you can see I only have his S1, S2 max. His S3 is not maxed yet. I'm not doing this anytime soon because Lilium's coming and we're going to talk about her in a future video. But I'm saving my tofus for her. Okay, but this is definitely something that I will want to 555 eventually. Next one will be Veronica. Now, Veronica has been one of my, niche picks for a very long time now. Even during the EWS, when I knew I don't have enough speed and I didn't know how to counter ref, this was my answer. And why was that? It's mainly due to the fact that her S1, her special passive here, where, if she gets attacked, she gets 35% turn meter boost. This is very, very important to cut your opponent. And if she can cut your opponent, that means she can put up Soul Ward, which is immortality, which is very, very powerful. Okay, you can see that I run her on immunity set. Okay, if you haven't watched the video on how to build Veronica, I'm going to link it up here so that you guys can check it out. But you want to give her immunity. And why do you want to give her immunity? Mainly because she does the damage first, and then she spreads all the buff that she has. So if she has immunity, she is going to give your entire team immunity as well. Okay? So Smite on her is a no-brainer, because if you can get some of effect accuracy on her, perfect. That helps her do the buff stealing on your opponent a lot more consistently. Okay, you can see I run her a little bit on some rest, because once she gives away her immunity, she is very, very susceptible to getting, stunned, frozen, slapped. And so if I put just that little bit on whatever piece I have, I'm still getting that chance, right? I'm still putting it up the chance, but at least the chance is there. Okay, it's a lot higher than just a 10% at that point. Okay, running her at about 294 speed, that's more than enough to, cut people. And the shell I'm using is Bulwark. It's Codex with Swift, Bulwark, Swift Smite. Okay, speed as well. I'm using Gaze here, so because every time she takes a turn, she's going to increase her effect accuracy up to 40%. And that's more than enough. By the time she wraps around, she's going to have, a pretty consistent S3 at that point. Okay? Nothing much else. You can see that I have maxed out her S3. Okay? Because this 4-turn cooldown is actually quite important when you're playing a much longer match, which Veronica tends to do quite often. Okay? Besides that, I just have this one to get the speed and to get the 35%, and that's about it. Eventually, she's also going to be a 555 unit, but that's what you need from her for now. This is her main damage, so if you want to use it to do damage in a bruiser matchup in the future, definitely get this maxed, okay? Because every 3 turns when she does this, it's going to be a hard-hitting, attack. Next one, Hoen. Now, Hoen has been, as the introduction of Yelli became more and more popular, right? Hoen also became more and more popular because she literally counters Yelli. When Yelli slaps the S3, that kills Hoen. Hoen will counter attack first before the follow-up happens, the follow-up attack from Yelli. And so if Yelli killed a unit, she just nullifies that. She just kills Yelli and get that unit back. So she's a +1 in that sense, right? This is her gear. I think you guys have already watched that video, right? Nothing much has changed about her. Eventually, I am going to, max this out because I want that 20% crit damage here, which is going to up her damage a little bit more, right? Giving her another, 20% crit damage is pretty damn good. Eventually, the attack's also going to go up to 4k, so no worries there. The shell that I'm using on her is still Law of Silence, okay? Because if a Yelli goes into you, this is actually quite a bait, right? So what happens is a lot of the scenarios, people will go and target a Sonia, for example, because they can't target Hoen, kill off the Sonia, my Hoen then counterattacks, kills off one of their units, my Sonia comes back, and now my Sonia revives, and then I just play this infinite loop of reviving units, right? Which is kind of sick, to be honest. And so this helps in 2 ways. One, she can't be targeted, so she can't be sniped down by any other unit, or even by a Holden's S2 for that matter. The other one is that because of Law of Silence, you have 50% damage reduction on AoE. That means Messiah, if they use a Sukiomi and boost the Messiah up, the Messiah is never killing. It's never killing your Hoen. Okay? And if Messiah cannot kill Hoen, then they're in quite a pickle, aren't they? Because now Hoen is live. And the only way that Messiah can really count the only real counter to Hoen is actually Messiah, right? Or CC. Which brings me to my next fact. She gets 60% FRES here already. Through Insight here, she also gets another extra 60%, so she naturally has already 120% FRES. And that's more than enough for me to, resist shit. Okay? Yelli. This is how I play Yelli. Okay? On Revelation, and I run her Giga Fast. And why is that? It's because when I play against, people, how I like to draft her is usually, I like to draft her in a very, bruiser-ish draft. And people will tend not to ban the Yelli. They will try to ban out, the sustain, right? And when they ban out the sustain, they get, curb stomped by a very fast Yelli, depleting their HP, and then my backup support DPS can, finish off the units one by one. Because now they have to race to kill this unit, right? Yelli's already done her job. She's already put defense down. She's already sniped off one unit, hopefully, at that point. And then I just clean up. So that's how I was playing Yelli. Okay? This also gives me the flexibility to, play Rev if I really wanted to go down the cleave route. At least I have another, speed unit right here. And if their tuning is a little off, or I manage to, in their draft, manage to, push it into a situation where my Yelli can cut them, I have that, right? Next one is Rin. Now, I noticed when I was playing, Rev for a while, just to experience what Rev felt like, I only had 2 DPS, which was Yelli and Messiah. And if they took that, I was kind of doomed. Because if you're playing against tank, you need more than 2 DPS, right? You need at least 3, if not 4. And so I started to build up Rin. My Rin's not the fastest. This is still, not very fast. And so this is more than enough to do the job. Because she is over there, if you're going against Squishy, she is killing the Squishy. regardless. I'm using White Fang on her. Alright? Because if she goes into a a squishy unit, if she doesn't kill, White Fang will kill for me. And that was how I was using her. Okay? Nothing fancy, nothing too crazy, but that's what I have on her. Why is this on plus 15 Swift Rush? I don't have any other pieces for her to make use of, the momentum. I don't have the right ones. So I just gotta make do with what I have. Okay? Like I said, the shell was this. This is still not perfect as well, but I didn't have enough coins at the time. Next one is going to be Viper, right? Now Viper is a unit that you use to counter cleave very often because of his damage mitigation on crits, and you want to run him decently fast. You don't want him to be a fucking turtle, okay? And I'm using Lighthouse to make up for the lack of speed that I have. Ideally, you want him to be about like 250, 260 speed here. Okay, if we can get him to that kind of speed, Gigabyte works as well for him. But I can't, okay, because I don't have speed. And so I'm using Lighthouse here to cheat out that speed, because if he's taking more than 25% of his HP, right, he's going to cut. He's definitely going to cut. And when he cuts a cleave player, you win. Because of the attack down, the speed down, the strips, the silences. He's a very, very good SR. Okay? So that's what I'm using on him, 555, because he's an SR unit, very easy to get. But that's about it. Alright, now full Q. This is how I'm running my full Q. Alright? Massive effect rest, right? Decent amount of HP. Nothing, I'm not going out of my way to, burn her HP to the ground while getting FRES. Not like what I'm doing with, Ling Law. But this is still enough. So you can see that I have FRES, right? FRES and HP here. Okay, so this is still enough to, resist some stuff. Not everything. But as long as I can resist one or two things, just as she press the S3, I don't care if she gets CC'd after that. She's going to not take a turn anyway. Okay? Shell, I'm also still using Lighthouse here, right? You can see that I have... This is the perfect one for her. I did roll this one for her. And with Paralysis, she's still, 1-1-1. Very usable. Very usable. Okay? Ling Law. You can see that I run her Omega FRES. She is a little bit slower than my Dokyoki. That was how I tuned it, because I want my Doki to move first before my Ling. And if I flip that the other way around, then Ling's going to move first, then Doki's going to push Ling all the way. That's not going to work. That sucks. That's bad tuning. And you can see that I'm running a 12-12 piece. And why is that? It's because I can't find a good Swift Smite or Swift Raid piece on her. Okay? Eventually, it's still going to... The master works out the same. It's just a matter of whether you get more attack or you get more effect accuracy. I needed neither. And so I just went with, 3 Swift Rush. That works. Okay? HP wise, she doesn't need too much HP because I'm being protected by Bloodbath already, and her healing is based on your own max HP, not hers, your teammate's max HP. What matters is she moves. As long as she moves, she can heal. She's done her job. Okay? Sukiomi. This is another unit I use when I want to contest for speed, or I see a hole in the draft where I can go fast and I need an attack buffer and a speed buffer. I will take Sukiomi. Okay? You can see my Sukiomi is also not that fast, right? But I have her on Lighthouse. And why is that? It's because if I ever lose in the speed battle and I'm playing against a Rev unit and the Rev player hits me, I'm going to cut, I'm going to push my DPS to the front, and then I'm going to counter cleave them 100%. Alright, so that's how I was playing Sukiomi. Nothing fancy. Alright? And you can see that all I have is just her speed here. And that's about it. Okay? She doesn't really need this yet because the ladders are, very scarce. But eventually you want this, alright, to be here at bare minimum. Okay? To get this to 100%. So that you can also push from the front. And you can do sick combos where, you S3 herself into an S2. That also can work. Next one I'm running is Kazio, and this is my only CC unit. I don't play CC very much, okay? But I have one CC unit just in case I need to play CC, okay? How was I playing CC? Basically, my pre-ban was majority of the time Mio. Because you have to think about the fact that if they give your opponent Mio and you ban something else, okay, they are going to have, an initiator to begin with, right? And they're usually going to pair Mio with Kazio. That means they're going to go down the CC, right? And if you can't answer one of the two, you're kind of screwed, right? And so I chose to ban out Mio, which is an initiator, and deal with Kazio and Obo, where I can snipe pick the Kazio from them and they will have the Obo, and then I can just ban out the Obo if I need to. But this needed to be a pocket pick. Do I play her very often? Not really. And you can see that I run on a 303 speed with Bulwark. And so why is she so fast? It's because they cannot control her. The only way to control her is to kill her, right? And if they cannot kill her, she's going to take a turn. She's going to sleep the entire team, the opposition's team. She's going to push back. She's going to attack them. All right? And then after, it just becomes a loop of you just looping Kazio and you using single target DPS to, chip them off one by one. Okay? And this was how I was running her. Effect accuracy is not very high here, and that's because I am running a flat HP one here with speed. Okay? Just to give her some survivability, because I noticed when I play triple effect accuracy, if I miss on a counterattack unit like a Holden or a Tiamat, 3/4 of a HP is just gonna go gone. Okay? Don't want that to happen. And so I give her a little bit of HP. Alright? Sacrificing just that little bit of, effect accuracy here. Alright? Eventually, I'm using Jackal Guard on her. This gives her speed, so she will zoom non-stop, and this Jackal Guard is considered her attack when Jackal Guard attacks, so she doesn't wake anyone up. Okay? And this is how I'm, dishing out damage with Kazio, mostly. Okay? This needs to be insight, but I haven't rolled it, as you can see. The only thing I rolled here was this. Okay? Next one we have here is Sonia. Now, Sonia is the GOAT. I enjoy playing Hoen Sonia so much because it's a double revive comp, right? If they don't deal with your DPS fast enough, I'm reviving something. If you deal with, if you can't deal with Sonia fast enough, I'm reviving something. And so this is a very, very cool comp that I enjoyed playing in this season. We don't know what next season is going to be. Balance patch is probably coming. That's why, they lowered the time duration. And so this is what I have on her. Strife is absolutely fucking nuts on her. Okay? Why is that? It's because they are going to they're going to try and kill Sonia as much as they can, right? And she already, with her S1, already pushed 30% turn meter, right? So she's already starting the turn meter at 30%, and then the next unit moves, so she's probably at 40, let's say, okay? Strife is going to proc every time she gets touched, which pushes, from 40 to 50 before she even takes before the next turn rolls around and the turn meter gets, recalculated. Then she's at 60%. Then she gets hits again. Then now she's at 80%, which goes to like 90 and then maybe 100%, right? And so this is insane, coupled with the fact that I'm running her on Gigabyte, okay? Because Gigabyte works in this way. If your opponent is super fast, you naturally become super fast, okay? Because the more turns they take, the more turns Sonia takes. And so I think that this was an insane pairing. And a lot of the time, I will bring Sonia into a Hoen. And because my Hoen is on Law of Silence, they can't target her, right? That means they can't kill her off. So the next best target for them to, snipe off is Sonia, correct? But what they don't realize is that if she doesn't get defense broken, right? Because I have a good amount of effect resistance here. If she doesn't get defense broken, every hit that they do is triggering Bloodbath, and it's also triggering Strife on every follow-up. So if they don't kill her, there's a good chance I take the next turn, I revive, I put, the all-powerful healing on her, right? Which is this all-powerful protection, which ups her max HP to another 20%, which means her healing now gets stronger at the same time. And I'm fully healed, and and then Yelli's entire, mechanic or gimmick has been nullified. Okay? And that's how I've been using Sonia. I think this is a very, very good build. Can I get her to have more HP? 100%. You wanna know why? Because she's only level 19. She's not been level 50 yet. Okay? Eventually she's gonna hit level 50. So she's gonna get, at least another 3k more HP from this, which is probably 38k, I wanna say. Maybe pushing 40k, right? Because This is low roll. I can still get another 6% max HP here. So I think that this is a pretty good build. Eventually, her gear will get improved. Right now, it's still not the best, as you can see, right? This is a bit too offensive and not defensive. Same thing here. Same thing here. Same thing here. Right? But that's her. And the last unit that I use is Heinrich. Okay? And Heinrich is on, Revelation, because right now Revelation on Heinrich makes him the any-sync Heinrich. That's what I like to call him. Okay, you can see that I'm using one piece of momentum on him, and that is how I managed to go with 91 crit with 230 crit damage with 3k attack. Okay, usually you can see rev units that are going this fast, they will have a lot of crit rate, not a lot of crit damage, but because of momentum, and I think momentum is the GOAT, I managed to hit the stat line. So he hits like a damn truck. Okay, not to mention the fact that he has some accuracy on him. Okay. Besides that, I have this, on overclocking. I have this on assault, right? And you can see that I have tuned him to be 306. And when I'm playing with him with Kazio is at 303. So if they have any immunity whatsoever, I can just strip it off and then into a sleep you go. Okay? And that's how I've been playing Heinrich. Do I pick him very often? Depends. All right? It depends on the draft. If they're playing pretty heavy on the buffs, for example, like a full Q, that kind of stuff, or like Sukiomi, after the first initial push, right, I survived that, then I strip it all away. Okay, but that is all 17 units that I used to push RTA. Okay, you can see that I only played about 200 games. I think earlier I just showed you guys, right? I didn't play a lot of games here. Right, I think I played about 240 games ish, right, with a 65% round up win rate, and most of my losses came from me ego battling, right, ego racing, and testing out stuff so that I can see the meta. All right, next season is gonna be fun. Season 1 is gonna be different with the introduction of Lilium and many other different units. Probably a balance patch is coming. We'll talk about that when it does come. But that is the account, guys. Hopefully you like this. Get into see behind the scenes on how my thought process was for building all my units. And if you did, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys in the next one.